Subsequently, the RNC chair,
Romney McDaniel.
There you go. Romney McDaniel said that she would step down from the RNC. There's been lots of talk about the spending and the blah, blah, blah. She's a bag of shit.
She is a human piece of garbage.
We've talked about her a million times, probably starting around the time of the midterms.
Probably.
We're like, this has been a absolute shit show. And there's no reason they didn't sweep up at the last midterms.
The only reason there is because of the RNC chair.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that decide who gets what money for what campaigns, which candidates the Republican Party is going to support. And there is one job. There is only one job for the chair of the RNC, and that is to get Republicans elected. And if there is one thing the RNC under the auspices of Romney McDaniel has not done, and that is get Republicans elected. That's it. The what was supposed to be a red wave turned out to be like a red trickle in the midterms. That's technically her fault,
right? Because
she did not get back. She didn't back the candidates that would have possibly won at that point. You know, you start to withdraw a campaign, and it all stems from Donald Trump's involvement in the party. If this was old school RNC stuff, everything just runs. The Republicans kind of get their seats, but Democrats still win every fucking time. And once Trump gets in, then you get the candidates like the MAGA candidates like Joe Kent from our state coming up. That RNC goes, we're not going to back you because you're a MAGA candidate, and we like our other person there. And then next thing you know, they split the vote. He still wins the fucking primary, beats the shit out of your stupid RNC-backed candidate, and then loses in the general because you didn't back him to begin with. Right. That was a bad bet, and she has done nothing but make bad bets from the jump. Fucking the last time there was a RNC debate, it was the time before last. The last one Vivek was on. He called her out by name in the audience and said to fucking step down. And you know what and after that, you know what the RNC did? Changed the fucking rules so that he wouldn't be on the debate stage with Nikki and fucking Ron.
Right.
That's what happened. And now she gets a call from Trump. They have a conversation. Next thing you know, she's stepping down this spring.
And if you want to be anti-Trump, right, that's fine.
Fine.
But
fine.
It is then incumbent upon you to provide a viable candidate and a viable alternative candidate for someone who can actually compete against him.
Yes.
And they're
you have to be
to
undeniable.
That. Yeah.
This is not because Trump's backing of certain candidates doesn't really go. You know, it goes both ways.
Right.
He's not a lock-in.
He's a loyalty guy.
You know, but at the end of the day, if you are going to not back a candidate that Trump comes out to what's that word? It's not sponsor, but you know, like I approve of this guy. Endorse. If Trump endorses this candidate, and just because Trump endorses it, the RNC goes, well, we're not going to endorse that guy because we're going to go with our other guy.
Yeah.
And then you fucking lose election after election after election. You should probably rethink your fucking strategy here.
Right.
He may not always be right, but maybe at some points he's the populist guy. Maybe there is popular support behind some of these people. And then if you want your party to retain power, maybe you do have to like take your medicine and just put support behind the guy that is got the support of, you know, in Nevada, 99.1% of the populace at that point. Read the fucking room. Get your stats going. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Don't be a fucking idiot. I'm so glad she's out. And there will have to be another election because there was one before where she got reaffirmed as the chair last year. I remember because that was the first time I ever heard Vivek talk. It was at like a Timcast IRL live event where her main challenger was also on stage with Vivek, and he was like, you got to be, this is the one. And then she just, they didn't want to talk to her because she was a MAGA person. But the RNC, if the Republicans have any chance of surviving the internal civil war that is taking place in the Republican Party, these fucking neocon shills need to retire. They need to go or get with the fucking program. The RNC has been overtaken. In popular support.
Yes.
And if they have any chance of being a viable party going forward, they all need to get with the program or get the fuck out.
The leadership is just trying to fight what the body
Mitch McConnell has to go. Has to go. All these people need to go. There's already talks right now. Ted Cruz was up on stage last week talking about how like Mitch McConnell probably shouldn't be the leader in the Senate anymore.
Well, he's 9 million years old. I think people might be
The
finally
software
waking up.
skips kind of, he worked through that or something like that. Or they're
Yeah.
not showing him anymore, but like, he's got to go, dude.
I think people might finally be waking up a little bit to the 90-year-old politician thing, you know?
It's
I
getting,
know
because the age is starting to come where their
Yeah.
age is really starting to hit.
I've seen more and more and more memes and just stuff lately, people talking about like,
Yeah.
this maybe isn't a good idea.
Joe
you know?
Biden having some serious issues.
We make regular blue-collar workers retire at 65, but we have people who are almost exclusively over 65 who are leading the country. There's probably a problem here. This isn't necessarily
Both
good.
leading presidential candidates
Yes.
are in their 80s.
It's a problem.
That ain't good for nobody, dude.
Yeah.
What was 80 years ago? The 1940s?
It's a long time.
How change, especially
Different world.
well, especially these days, societal change happens exponentially. It's so much faster now than it ever was. I mean, the phones we had right now, we couldn't even recognize them 10 years ago. I mean, when did the first iPhone come out? Oh, like, I mean, not that long ago, but like still.
Like 2008, I think.
And now we're dealing, it's 2024 now. But you go, the phones that were out in the mid to late 90s, they were like, you know, you're playing Snake on your fucking brick phone.
Right.
I mean, that's, technology increases so much faster now, which means societal change goes along with it. And these politicians that have been in there for decade upon decade upon decade, like I said before earlier in the show, it's like Joe Biden, the same guy that signed the fucking crime bill that gave Giuliani permission to do fucking stop and frisk
Right.
to clean up the streets in New York, is now completely against his own position from that long ago, just because it just shows you how quick times are changing nowadays. And these old school neocons that have been in power for 40, 50 years, they cannot hang anymore. They have to go. We need to start recycling these people real fucking quick. And as time goes on, they are getting to the point where fucking Feinstein dies in the chair. You know, what's her name? RGB, Ruth Bader Ginsburg dies in the chair. All these politicians. Mitch McConnell, I'm surprised is still alive. Like, it got real scary for a point. And all these dudes, Nancy Pelosi, they're all going to start checking out.
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders, I don't know. That dude just keeps on going. He's the Keith Richards of politics, man. He just keeps going. But it all has to change at some point, and you cannot, as cushy as her job has been, because she's not that old.
Yeah.
But she's been in that world for so long. She needs to wake up and fucking smell the coffee and realize her time is over, man.
There's a problem with the voter base too. That the voters in the
people are
Republican
retarded?
Party, when they're old, there's
Oh,
the
yeah,
vast
yeah, yeah.
majority of the voters. It's only now that it's beginning to shift. You know, if you want someone who's different, you need youth that are involved who also will naturally want someone who's different.
Yeah.
But if you have mostly the vast majority adults and especially geriatric fucking adults that are voting, you're going to get the same dudes in there for 40 years in a row because that's what they're used to. They don't want youth in there. They don't want change. They don't want different. They're scared of all the things. You know?
And that is the shift that's going on right now. The Republican Party, the quote-unquote conservatives, if you will, are the younger group of people getting involved in politics.
Right.
The thought leaders like Charlie Kirk and the what does he run? The Turning Point USA and all that shit. Another, I don't know how many, I don't want to say how many years, but in the very near future, that is the RNC now.
Right.
It's the young, activated conservatives who are way more numerous as the old school Reagan era Republicans die off, because it's happening. They've reached the age now. All the old fogies that used to be the stodgy Republicans, they're all dying.
Right.
They're aging out. The politicians, they have better health care than most people, so they're lasting longer than usual. But like, this is just a prime example of what the new Republican Party is looking like, because it's being taken over by the youth and people that actually have more libertarian values. And there's no place in the future for people like Ronna Romney McDaniel anymore.
Right.
It's all gone, dude. It's all changed. That's the only reason Trump got elected to begin with, is because there are more and more younger people that are going, you fucking lefties are insane. I'm a part of this group. I like these guys. I'm a part of this conservative group. They dress nice. They act nice. They talk nice. We have fancy parties. We're interested in making money and doing better for ourselves. This is what I want to do. And then they join that. And that's 10 years from now, it's going to be a completely different Republican Party, and I don't see how they don't assert some form of serious dominance in our politics in the future, which we got to be careful of because some of them are a little zealotous.
They're out there.
They're out there. They're very trad wife, religious. There's a lot of the old school stuff that I'm not a huge fan of, but
I'm not mad at that.
I'm not mad at it because it's better than what we have now. At least they're all anti-war. This is the first time like the right has been anti-war compared to the left.
I don't know. As I get older, maybe it's not the older thing. I would attribute it partially to family, but I think I've always been like a little more conservative and just didn't really know it. I think that a conservatizing of the social structure is not a bad thing. I think it's a very good thing.
That is a you getting older thing, but it's not an age thing.
Yeah,
that is a family responsibility thing.
I'm not into the idea of all of these fucking what up random finance guy.
We already have a Larry the Tax Guy.
I'm not into the idea of like the open relationships things, the promiscuity, the like I don't like single parenthood. I don't think any of this is a good thing. I'm not a fan of any of this type of stuff. I'm not a proponent of any of that. I don't think I'm more and more in favor of like abstinence and shit. Like I just don't don't think any of that is a good idea. Not for like everybody, but I mean, I think that
it's 2024. Fuck responsibly.
I don't know. I think that it is potentially better to wait. That's kind of just generally how I feel about it.
It does make sense. It's hard to argue against, really.
It doesn't seem that I don't know. It's a cost benefit thing, and when you're 16, you're not doing a cost benefit analysis. So I don't blame anybody. I'm not like you're a piece of shit for doing that.
Yeah.
But I think as adults, we should be trying to incentivize that as much as we can, and not just shame kids for fucking, but try and point out to them the benefits of waiting and why try and help them realize the cost benefit analysis, because they're not going to do it themselves. And don't just try and penalize them for it and keep it away from it because that makes them want to fuck more.
Exactly.
Try and explain to them in a legitimate fashion the potential problems from doing this and why it's better to maybe wait a little bit.
Yeah, there's a lot of perks to be had.
Yes.
In a more conservative lifestyle than there is an opposite.
Yeah,
right?
And I'm not into telling anybody what to do, but I'm not going to ever tell you that I think that's a good thing for you to be doing the opposite of all the shit that I just said. I'm never going to tell you I think that's good. I'm never going to be like, yeah, we'll keep fucking doing that. If you tell me that's what you're doing, I'm going to say, okay. Or maybe don't.
Yeah.
Like that. I'm gonna tell you that. So I
think on a societal level, the data is pretty substantial that like one has way better outcomes than the other.
Yeah.
One lifestyle has way better outcomes than the other. And if you go down that more traditional, we'll just say for lack of a better term, lifestyle, like odds are life's going to be better and it's going to be more sustainable for everybody and everybody's going to have a better outcome.
It's worked really well for my family for us to have one parent that stays at home and for to have one parent that works. And I think that given the opportunity, that would work for more people. And I supplementally think that it is a good goal for us as a country to try and head back towards a societal structure that would
encourage that?
And just enable more people to do that, because there's the biggest issue now is most people can't do that. They don't have the ability to have one income, There are a lot of different factors that allowed us to do that. We lived in a fucking basement, until a year ago. So there's a lot of things that gave us that ability, but I think that that's a positive thing, and I think using that positive outcome as the national incentive for trying to lean social structure and policy that way is a good thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
I would agree with you. Yeah. Because over most of our lives, I would say the incentive structure legally and on a government policy level have been in the inverse. They've been making it more beneficial to not live a more, for lack of a better term, traditional lifestyle like that. And so it was easier to do that. And then we these days are experiencing the fallout from those policies and the social strife that has come with it. And, you know, we've all lived through that.
Yeah.
And when we look at the new generation that are kind of adopting more of those traditional standards, that more conservative standard, it's like people are having better outcomes. They just are. And it's hard to argue with the outcomes that are coming out that way.
Right.
And if there was a way to say, roll back the government regulation that's making it more difficult for people to have a single family income and,
Right.
you know, I mean, there's a million different threads that all affect it, but if there's a way you can make it easier to do that, society as a whole will probably be better off.
From a governmental perspective, I think we should, a better way to try and enforce equality and equity in the society would be not to say, you know, now everybody can be a cog in a machine, but to say only one of you guys needs to earn money and you can do it in any manner in which you find appropriate, and that's fine. I think that's the best way to go about it. You know,
Yeah.
we're going to make it so that you're bringing home as much as possible so that you have
Mm-hmm.
a million options for how you can support your family.
Yes.
And it's really none of our business how you go about that.
Yeah, and we as the government
And if
as
it's the
various,
wife or the husband, we don't give a shit. Because
It
if
doesn't
your
matter.
wife is able to earn 3 times as much as you doing whatever the career is, then who gives a fuck? Right?
Exactly.
Like, that's the way to promote
that's for
equality.
you and your family to figure out how
Yeah.
that dynamic works. That's fine.
Yeah.
But as long as we as the government and as various institutions can get out of your way
Yeah.
to make that as possible as it can, it sounds really bad, but old school Elizabeth Warren, her book Two
Right.
Parent Trap, she was on it for a minute.
Right.
And it's that kind of stuff that just get out of our fucking way. We can get back to that ideally, but I'm on board with that. I like it.
Welcome to the south of the streets, coming at you every